everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon members, anybody that's donated financially, anybody that's shared the videos. Just, it really means the world to me. Donations especially are just never expected, so that's always really appreciated. It all goes back into the podcast. I did want to make an announcement. I looked in my algorithm, or not my algorithm, but my analytics the other day, and it's showing that 60% of the people that are watching my channel are not subscribed. So if you could do me a huge favor and just make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. If you support my work, then just subscribe to the channel. It really helps the algorithm. And I'm trying to get that 30% up to at least 50 and then go higher from there. So I'd really appreciate it. And with that being said, I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Rich Morosky. I went to a program called Straightinc in St. Petersburg, Florida, August 9th, 1982. I was there for about a year.
Okay. And walk us through your childhood a little bit and what like led up to you being sent there or going there.
Okay. Well, I come from the generalized broken home, like a lot of people do. I had dyslexia as a kid, and back in 1969, because I'm kind of older, they didn't know what the hell that was, and I was ostracized. So there was like a lot of abuse in like kid kind of like teasing stuff. That I was held back in first grade, blah blah blah. So that created some tension. Then when I was 9, my parents divorced, which really just completely blew everything up. And I went on into school. And I began to experiment using drugs and alcohol. I wasn't one of these kids who never did it. I mean, that's not my case. One of the things, there's 3 events that really pushed it over the edge for my parents. One, I drank myself into a coma. The old adage about lying half dead in the field. That was me. That went over horribly in my family. I basically got ostracized from the rest of my family. At that point, they're very puritanical, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And there's 2 other times where I took entirely too much LSD and I can't say I had a freak out bad trip, but I had a really hard experience.
Okay.
My mother overreacted to everything because she was frightened, and why not? I mean, she comes from the take a pill and make it go away generation,
Yeah.
So that's just not how things really work most of the time.
Yeah.
And she overreacted, and law enforcement was involved, and yada yada. A lot of the time growing up, I was rolled back and forth between my father, my mother. I went to 7 different high schools as a result. So it was fairly unstable, and it was really easy to, start experimenting with drugs and alcohol or whatever. I definitely have a whole call sheet list of drugs that I tried prior to straight. There was no innocent kid going in there. I come from pretty much a blue collar kind of town. The thing was, go to keg parties on the weekends, make out with girls, and have fist fights. That's what we did. There wasn't much else to do. And thank God they didn't have cameras back then, because I think I'd be in prison.
Yeah.
For real, man. So at one of these times that I was rolled across the country like a rotten peach. That's how I felt, really. I didn't feel like either my character, I don't even know how to describe it. I wasn't feeling the love. I'll just put it to you that way. So one of the times I was sent back to my father, I never made it to his house with his wife. Subsequently got remarried. Her name's Sally. She's a lovely woman. I love her with all my heart. But I didn't make it to the house. We stayed in a hotel, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And we saving things. Well, we're going to go to family counseling. And I thought I honest to God, I thought to myself, well, maybe this would probably help. Maybe I'll be able to talk to people better. Or I was willing.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was odd because it was on a Saturday, which just happened to be my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And we went down the highway. It was relatively close by, 40 minutes away from where my father's house was in Dunedin, Florida. Went to St. Petersburg, Florida. Um, and I thought it was odd. We pulled into this. It was like an industrial park looking place. Do you know what I mean? And there was a building that had like an office in the front, and then there was a big warehouse in the back. And I thought, this is what a crazy place for like, think about it. Go to a warehouse for family fucking counseling. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I became a little suspicious. Please don't mind my cat.
Oh, it's all good. I love cats.
Say hello, Dylan. Oh, you can't really get it.
Hey,
Anyway,
buddy.
sorry. So I go in the door, and there's a couple of adults, two in particular. One was Miller Newton. The other one was Ruth Ann, his wife, Ruthie. And there were some kids there. And I remember there was a few minutes, and it was the room was all paneling. It was a real 1970s stuff. It's a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
1992. So I'm looking around, and you know how you'll see at businesses, hey, thanks for donating 5,000 hot dogs to the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts or whatever. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, thank you, Straight Incorporated. And I was like, when I went to school in Florida, Straight Incorporated was the fucking boogeyman. Because kids
Okay.
would disappear. They'd disappear for years. And their friends wouldn't see them again. And if they did, they were completely transformed, which I'll get into later.
Okay.
And I got in there and I started to really panic. I'm like, holy shit, because I was frightened. Everyone told me that place is fucked up. So Ruth Ann comes over and she's talking to my father, and I said, well, she goes, well, your father and I are going to go talk over here. Why don't you go in here with these kids? You guys can talk. And I was like, okay. These kids are really big kids. They're like my size. I'm a big person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they brought me into this room that was like a big walk-in closet, right? And there was a chair in the corner and three chairs between me and the door, and that's where the three big linebacker kids sat.
Okay. Interesting.
And they started asking me like all these questions. They were doing their intake. I mean, the fucked up part about Straight is you could answer all the questions no and be an absolute angel. If you made it there, you were checked in no matter what the situation was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're asking me all these questions about my drug use, and I'm just being honest. And they're like, "Oh man, blah blah blah." I guess these kids didn't explore as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
They started asking me questions about my sexuality. They started asking me, ever had sex with animals, ever had sex with an adult when I was a kid, like all this stuff. And I'm like, no. I mean, I just it began to be really annoying. I felt, how many times you can ask me the same question by asking me different questions that are really the same? You're
Yeah.
trying to me up or something, and that went on for a couple of hours,
Wow.
maybe like 3 or 4 hours of questioning, and then they finally I don't know. It was a long time ago, so I remember the majority of my stay in that place. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a little foggy here. And they got done with their interrogation, and the kids warned me and said, "Look, when you come in here, I have to grab you by the seat of your pants." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And he showed it to me on this other kid. He put his middle finger, his hand like this, put his
Mm-hmm.
middle finger into the guy's back of his belt loop and grabbed the back of his pants with his belt, and his finger twisted in the belt loop hole. And that's the only way you could walk around in Straight where you're on first base. I mean, everywhere. You had to
Wow.
go to the bathroom, someone watched you. I mean, they stood right in front of you as you care your business, whatever. And I remember I walked down this hallway, and there was these fluorescent light banks. Like there'd be a light bank like 3-4 feet, and another one. So it was like white to dark, white to dark, white to dark. And then I could hear what was going on in the big room. It's indescribable how it sounded. It's mute nostril agony. The noise that came, this wild creaking, clacking of chairs and grunting. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? The doors open up, the massive warehouse. There's like 300 kids in there.
Wow.
Girls sit on one side, boys sit on the other, and there's an aisle up the middle. And in between the groups facing them are two staff members. And they're in bar stools, which I found to be completely ironic considering where a
Yeah.
place was. And these kids look all tan and healthy, and they look good. And as I'm walking down the aisle, there was some girl talking, and every single eye in the building was on that girl talking. Yet when I was walking down the aisle, people's heads were facing this way, but their eyes were looking at me. It was the most disturbing feeling. They weren't, but they were looking right at me. They introduced me to the group, and they read off my drug list, which was whatever I did, Quaaludes, blah, blah, blah. And the tradition is to put newcomers front row, seat one. So, I get brought to the chair by my belt loop, which was really, really uncomfortable. I did not like it. I sat down in the chair, and ask yourself, what do you normally do when you sit in a chair? Your back, it's the backrest. That's what it's clear. In straight, there was no such thing as resting your back. So within 2.2 seconds of being admitted into group, I was severely assaulted. They punched me in the back of the neck and ran it right down my back like 4 or 5 times. And I stood up and I grabbed this kid, and it's this little guy, and I'm like, get your fucking hands off me. I wasn't that kid. I like don't. I wasn't a fight starter kind of kid, but I had my boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh, and about 6 guys stood up, and the staff stopped them and explained not to do anything to me, and they just told me sit the fuck down. And they were called fifth phasers. They stood on the side of group all day long. Came down the row and explained to me you have to keep your back off the backrest of the chair. You try doing that for 12, 14, 15 hours a day. Talk about back pain.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the group started up again. And here's these 2 kids. They weren't adults. These staff members were children. They were 15, 16, 17 maybe. And in order to get called, you had to motivate. Motivation was a way of getting staff members' attention. At least that's the way they, led us to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Moving and flapping your entire top half of your body while not making any sound, pumping your arms wildly.
Kind of like this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that would go on for 4 or 5 minutes, and they'd choose somebody. Everyone would shut up, the person would stand up, and they'd start to share. The groups, there was like 4 groups a day. Okay. And each of them were like 3 to 4 hours a piece, depending. And it was confrontation from beginning to end. At times they'd have these feel-good raps. It was just bullshit. It was just a change of schedule kind of thing. And it was intense. And I think back on it now, and it's just like, how could you have any kind of independent fucking thought if all you're doing is flailing your arms and hands around? You have no time to think. Mm-hmm. None whatsoever. And the times you're not, you're being bashed with this fucking straight propaganda shit.
Yep.
The confrontations in group were absolutely brutal. There was little to no rules when you confronted people. Lots of people talk about being spit in the face because they were, people would confront them. They'd be very close to their face. And if you move back, people would push you forward. If you turned your head, they'd move your head forward. If you close your eyes, they'd pry your fucking eyes open. And you'd have to stand there and take it. And I swear to God, most of the groups were about fucking rules, going over rules, insane rules that went along with straight. They had so many of them. Confidentiality. What say here stays here. Can't talk outside of group. Da 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 da. All this stuff, which kind of makes sense. But I was aghast. I mean, I'd never seen anything like that in my life. I was flipping out, frightened. And one of the funny things, well, it's not a funny thing, but twice a week they'd have these open meetings, right? Where the parents and visitors would come. We'd be in there singing these ridiculous fucking nursery rhyme songs while waiting for the parents group eating thing to be over with because they had to go to group 2, right? And they
Mhm.
come into this other room, and all the kids are facing one way, and all the parents and relatives are facing toward them. What they do is they'd have someone go around with a microphone and go down to each parent, and every time a parent got the microphone, their kid had to stand up, and the parents would just disassemble these children in public, and it was incredibly embarrassing, very upsetting if you're a prisoner of that fucking place, you know. And
Mhm.
you could not respond. If you tried to respond, they would rip you down. You'd go immediately into the bathroom, and they would beat your fucking ass. Is exactly what they would do. The staff never stopped, and they didn't give a shit. Really, they're children.
Mhm.
Um, it would go back and forth, and that was also the time that when people graduated out of the program, they were called the 7-stepper, whatever. They'd make a big announcement. You're done with the program, which was bullshit, by the way.
Mhm.
And we're sending you home. Also, when kids went from lower phases to higher phases, they'd be celebrated in there as well. One of the biggest phrases is "Mom, I'm coming home," or "Dad, I'm coming home," which meant you were no longer staying outside of your home, and you could bring newcomers back with you. It's hard to describe. It's very it's complex how they did things. I mean, in some other places, you stayed on grounds. You just were there. In straight, it wasn't like that. At first, they used to call it foster homes. That's an old word. Um, and basically, what you would do is every night they'd figure out who's going where, and then they'd send you to someone else's house. Some
Wow.
other kid never met their family, don't know anything about them. It could be horrific living conditions. There was a few which just like, holy shit, I don't believe that people live here kind of stuff. No offense against those people. Some people live their own lives, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it was bizarre, and that's when I began to figure out this is a cult. And the more I thought about it, I said, my parents joined a cult, not me. I was held there prisoner as an adult. There was no such thing as signing yourself out. All the windows and doors were guarded. When you were in the homes, when we went home at night, all the windows were screwed shut. I mean, literally screwed shut.
Yep.
They had locks on the outside of the door facing the hallway, and there was no way to unlock it from inside of that room. Um, I think, shit. Imagine if there's a fire. There's no way out of that room. Windows are fucking screwed shut. Doors are bolted.
Mhm.
Um, basically they'd pack you in that bedroom. They'd give you a mattress or an air mattress, and you didn't have any clothes in there. You didn't have anything in there but a place to sleep, and you're down to your underwear at night. If you had to go to the bathroom, there was a big jug that you were supposed to use in the middle of the night. Uh,
This was at the foster homes?
yes, and the foster homes were other homes of other kids. It would be it was fucked up because a lot of times they had a lot of people have brothers and sisters, right?
Mhm.
And they used to have sibling group, and the sibling
Wow.
they were still living at home with their parents, still going to school. They weren't the ones who were in the problem yet.
Yeah.
um, and they teach them who they could talk to, who they wouldn't be able to talk to, what words to use, what words they can't use, what kind of music to listen to, what kind of TV you should watch, who to stay away from, what are your grades, you're sassing your parents, you're doing this, you're doing that. And they'd confront them. These kids were like fucking 8. And they're like, confrontation wasn't like, you're doing a bad job. It's more like, I'm going to find a chink in your armor and dig and dig and dig till you pour your fucking heart out. And you'll tell them goddamn anything to stop.
Yep.
And one of the fucked up things is in straight, they believed in prophylactically treating kids, meaning they didn't have any apparent symptoms at all, but there are indicators their brothers and sisters are drug addicts, according to them. So they would admit these children with literally 12 or 13 years old, never even drank a beer. They may have sassed their parents a couple of times. You know what? When I was 13, I was a little bit of an asshole. I was a sassy kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty normal, though.
Yeah.
That's your boundaries. But the families who were in straight, the boundaries were incredibly thin. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
all you had to do is touch it, and you could considered to be admitted into that place or held prisoner. Oh man, there's so I don't know where you want me to go with this. You know, talking in generalities. Do you have a question for me? Because I could just ramble, and I don't want
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Well, you did really good. I love it when people just take off and tell the story. It's actually some of my favorite interviews. So that's awesome. So you were 18 when you went there, correct?
Yeah, my 18th birthday.
Okay. Um, were you going there? Because like, were they just allowed to keep people over 18, or were you there kind of trying to get your parents like just because your parents said you had to go here, or like why were you there over 18?
Because back then there was no patient bill of rights. The
Okay.
courts, great side, they would court order people there all of the time.
Okay.
The police departments and throughout that county absolutely colluded with straight.
Okay.
Didn't make a difference if you were over 18. You had to escape.
Okay.
And it took a year for me to figure out how to escape.
Okay. Okay. How was
Yeah,
the food there?
kidnapped. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Kidnapped.
Yep.
Sorry.
No problem. How was the food there? Was it horrible?
Well, you would get bag lunches from
Okay.
home sometimes, or they'd have frozen bologna and cheese sandwiches. Uh, they'd have a cup, like a little Dixie cup of warm water. Sometimes you get carrot sticks. They used to make this carrot raisin salad that was absolutely ungodly, disgusting. Lots of the food was expired, rotten. You could smell it. You get a sandwich, you could smell like this bologna is not bologna anymore. You know, it's
Yeah.
some fine. Yeah, you know, I lost a lot of weight in that place. You know, one of the times I was asked to make sandwiches, and I made a sandwich. I put 3 pieces of bologna on my sandwich. Pretty normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cheese and some, I think it was mustard or something. They counted all the bologna slices, and I took one more than everyone else. And to me, I was making a fucking sandwich, right?
Yeah.
And they brought me up in group. They confronted me. It was the middle of winter. We had just been transferred up to open the Springfield program in Washington, or Northern Virginia, Washington D.C. The one where Princess Di and Nancy Reagan went to. That one. That happened way after I escaped. Anyway, um, so I got caught doing that. They put me on half rations. We were already being starved, so I
Mm-hmm.
got half. Like if someone got a hot dog, I got a half a hot dog. They got three things of beans, I got one. Um, and I was on that half ration thing about 2 months, and I lost about 40 something pounds, and hair started to fall out. My teeth were from fucking vitamin deficiency. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was starved. Sorry about the noise.
So fine.
Highway. Um, the food was awful. Something like on Sundays we would have a half a day where we'd home and earlier in the day and maybe sleep in a little bit. And you know, if you were at a decent foster home, someone's house, and mom liked to cook, we would definitely get a good meal. But most of the times it was bullshit. You know what I mean? It was just feed these kids and get them the fuck out of here kind of feeling. You know?
Okay.
Because you know the parents were also subject to parents meeting, and they were, you know, here you are, you just brought your kid in there, right? And this cult, Straight Incorporated, demands that in order for you to join this cult, you have to give up the raising of your children to us because you've proven to be a loser fucking parent.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have these people who were in there for years, these other parents, families in there for years, and they bought this whole straight fucking bullshit hook, line, and sinker. So you're standing in there, you're some new parent, you're nervous as fuck, your kid's been fucking up at school or whatever. They have accentuated every single fear you ever had about your kid growing up, telling you they're going to die, and you can't speak out for yourself because you're outnumbered and outweighed. You have
Mm-hmm.
all these people, and they just mow you over. And I understand sometimes it's easier to just comply and continue to doubt yourself. Like, maybe these guys are right. I should really listen to them. They're the experts. They're not fucking experts. They're
Yeah.
scared like you. And they just know the propaganda, and they were taught how to brain someone over the head with it.
Exactly. How many people were there when you got there, if you had to estimate, and how many people were there when you left?
Well, the St. Petersburg group was huge. I think it was around 350 kids by the time we separated. And that's a whole other story. This is fucked up. So I was in straight in St. Petersburg, and my father and his wife Sally, who I love dearly, Sally had a son named Paul, and they wanted to force Sally to sign her son into straight. He's a year older than me. He was like 19. And Sally basically told him to go fuck themselves. No, I'm never doing that. Never. So one day, both my parents, my father and his wife, just stopped coming to meetings. No one bothered to tell me what happened. I put in requests to ask. I was confronted because I was talking behind backs, because I got the audacity to ask about where the fuck my parents were. I have no way of contacting anyone. No radio, no news, no phone, no letters, nothing. Isolated. And I really began to lose my mind in there. I really thought that I had died. This was hell for me. I really thought I had died. I'm not really in this earth anymore. I have no contact with anything. That was so fucking scary. Being a scared young man thrust into that place, and all of a sudden my parents. So they decided, they got my mother, who lived in New Jersey, to agree to get into the program. My poor mother worked at a hospital as a stenographer. She didn't make lots of money. She's a hardworking lady. I love my mother to death. But every week she'd have to take a plane down there because she couldn't drive. Back then, the Hills Express was this weird little air company that you could pay as you go kind of thing. It was very inexpensive. And she used to go up there and spend the weekends up there and work a full-time job and take care of a house. And I'll never forget the day she showed up in group. I lost my mind. I couldn't believe my mother was there. She had no interaction with me at all up until that point.
That's insane. How long after you got there, when you first got there, did it take for things to fully sink in and for you to be like, where the fuck am I?
Pretty quickly. There was no way of pretending I wasn't there. No way of distracting myself. There was no way of not paying attention. But you had 300 other kids to make sure you did. And all we did all day long is just pick on each other. Find any kind of rule infraction, confront each other. You name it. But as you progressed in the program, there was 5 phases, 1 through 5. 5 being just ready to be 7-step, meaning getting out of there and having to go to outpatient, which is a whole other story. But once you got on 2nd phase, you began to have newcomers. So you had to take care of these kids. They were newcomers. That doesn't mean they're new getting into the program that day. That just means they sat on 1st phase for months. Or it could be you were 5th phase and you got caught, I don't know, having a Playboy magazine or some fucking ridiculous thing like that, and they bounce you back down to 1st phase again. And they gave us an incredible amount of power over other children. There was veritably no adult supervision whatsoever. Once a week, would have what they used to call it. There was a name for it. It was the executive meeting, where it meant the executive members of the staff or the entire thing would hold a meeting, and they could be incredibly violent. I remember Miller Newton was, if there was, they say straight, one of the things to become a cult is you need to have some kind of leader that's very, flamboyant and very charismatic, and he fit that. But he was also a sadist motherfucker. Yeah, such a thing about the girls and people who were gay. I didn't grow up that way. I didn't give a fuck what you did with your friends. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, it was like his mission just to, There's this girl, she's 14 years old. Her parents mentioned a meeting, she was a cheerleader and, popular in school. And he turned that around and confront her and be like, yeah, so I heard you were a cheerleader, shaking your ass in front of all the boys, acting like a slut in front of your parents. I mean, it's fucking 14. Come on, man. And then the rest of the group would just jump on board. Before you know it, the line of people would last for an hour or so, and they just keep bombarding you. It's just ripping you to shreds. And the consequences were very, very harsh. I mean, it ranged from, oh man, it ranged from food deprivation, sleep deprivation, mobility, like being kept in a stress position for days, kneeling for days. Or this one kid, he kept putting up, as they put it, a surfer image. He's from California, and he spoke funny, okay?
Yeah.
And they ride around on a goddamn skateboard for weeks, everywhere. He had to stand up on a skateboard and motivate. You try doing that for a couple of weeks. Like, that's a stress position. And also, it was very violent. Very, very violent. It was not unusual. They would call it getting marathon, where they put you in an intake room and they'd switch. There'd be teams of people that come in and keep you awake, push you around, literally beat your ass. I mean, literally, like out of a movie, someone getting mugged having their ass. Because they were told by Seth, deal with them. And everyone knew what that meant. Do whatever the fuck you wanted. And here I am, 18 years old, fucking pissed off, this, that, have myself half convinced this is the way I'm supposed to live my life. And you know what? I was one of those kids who fucked other kids up. I don't say that with a big smile on my face. I cringe inside because I am not by nature a violent person. Never have been. Father said, "Don't ever start fights; always end them." And I kind of took that to heart,
Yeah.
But in there, I learned how to dislocate people's shoulders. Just it's very hard to talk about this stuff.
I can imagine.
I didn't want to hurt I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't.
Do you feel guilty?
No, but I feel responsible. There's a difference.
Okay.
Did I feel guilt in the past? You betcha. I mean, just because when I got out of that place didn't mean the horror show stopped that day. It didn't.
Yeah.
But it continued. It's almost 50 years later, whatever, 40 something years later. But am I responsible for my actions? Absolutely. But I've done other things to put myself in peril so as not to hurt other children. Yes. But there was a couple ways out of that place, and the one that I chose was the only way out was in.
Yep. Well, that's what a lot of people ended up having to do, including me. How many phases were there in the program?
There were 5 phases.
Okay.
First phase, you have absolutely zero responsibility of yourself or anyone else. You had to write moral inventories every night. It's this cockamamie way of working your problems through the 7 steps, not the 12. They had 7. They modified them, butchered them, and it was bullshit. It was utter fucking bullshit. No one ever read them, but we had to do them. And you had to, meet certain criteria, remember all the rules, be able to recite the steps. You had to know all the chain of command from the very top all the way down to the fucking janitor, apparently. And then you were, of course, the absolute bottom of that list. I mean, there was a bunch of different things, and you had to be motivating and confronting people wildly. And you would start to, staff would begin to pick on you more. And, the fucked up part is like, a lot of other survivors said they made things up. I didn't make anything up. I really told the truth about the things that I was doing. And some of the shit was fucking fucked up. You know what I mean? It was just experimenting with drugs and girls and this and that. I didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. Even now, I'm looking back when I was a kid. I was a pretty normal kid,
Yeah, exactly.
like really normal dreams and aspirations, and I. This is a tough thing to talk about, man.
It really is.
No, I mean, the fucked up part about being in that place way back when is this. They didn't even know how to treat addiction back then. I mean, professionally. They were like burning sage and rattling bones above people, hoping it would work. You know what I mean? And PTSD was something that was only attached to soldiers. Literally. You couldn't say, I got PTSD. They're like, fuck you, you weren't in Vietnam. You know, 'cause that's how long ago it was. And I got, diagnosed with CPSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I was held prisoner against my will for a year, and was subjected to some of the most vicious abuse I've ever experienced in my life. It is the most vicious abuse I've ever experienced in my life. And when I got out of there, I was a complete fucking maniac, bro. I was so angry. And having just gotten out of a place where, I was encouraged to do bodily damage to people, that was hard to let go of when I got out. That was crazy how I escaped and stuff. But so there's 5 phases. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine. And did you go ahead?
Well, I was going to explain the phases, but you may have a much better question.
No. Explain the phases.
Okay, so phase 1, you're like a nobody, a nothing. You're like an avatar, and they basically tote you around by your belt loop, push you around, yell at you, confront you, nitpick the shit out of you constantly. And the hours were fucking crazy. I lived in a house where the parents went to work in Washington, D.C., and they lived an hour outside of Washington, D.C., so we were being dropped off the building at like 5:30 in the morning. Then we wouldn't be picked up again until like 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And then we had to go home, shower, write these cockamamie fucking bullshit eyes, and somehow get to bed in some stranger's house you've never ever met before in your life. And on top of it, be so fucking scared shitless. It was, wow, that was difficult to do. And once you get up on the second phase, you're just like a first phaser, except now you can bring newcomers home and go over their eyes, and you can yell at them and lord over them and guide them around by their belt loop. And you're given a little bit more self-control, for lack of better words. We're able to be more independent. Third phase, once you made it out of second phase, it was either you went to school or you went to work. I went to school. Having been to 7 different high schools, I bet you can imagine I never graduated, right? Well, you're right. It was kind of hard, man.
Yeah.
So I went to school. On fourth phase, it's like a leisure phase. Like, this is the phase where you make friends. This is the phase you got to do with your families. This is the phase where you get a day off out of group. I think once a month to go out an all-day excursion. Like, everyone used to like to go to the mall in Washington, D.C., where the Smithsonian is and all that stuff. That would be a day excursion with your family. Go out to eat dinner in a normal place. And, everyone looked forward to that stuff. And your seat and group changed. Like, all the first, second, and third phasers sat facing staff members. And the fourth phasers sat on the same side of the room as the staff members, but in rows. And they were to be the example. You want to do good, you got to be like these fourth phasers. And we're all over there scared shitless, even though it's big, happy, smile on our faces, trying to play it up like we're okay. And yay, straight is the way, which was not the way. And the final phase before you could potentially get out is called fifth phase. And fifth phase, you had 2 days off a week from group. You had more responsibilities. You had more freedom to move about. You were also like the mega example. And these guys had to stand on the side of group, the furthest away from staff, and look down the aisles at all the phasers, all the other kids in there. And they were to motivate standing up. And some of these guys be in there for 14 hours on their feet, jumping up and down, motivating, trying to get called on. Most of the time, you don't. I've seen people be on fifth phase for a couple of years, 1 or 2 years. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't ever move up. I mean, I can look back now and say, gee, I guess it wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that your father works for Boeing and he's a VP. You know, they're just sucking your family dry for money. Or
Yeah.
he's kind of colonel in the Air Force or some shit. It was that's basically what the system was like.
Okay.
And 7-stepping. Basically, you graduate the program, but you go into aftercare, which is, you know, it's like any other straight group, but it's a bit more relaxed. You were able to smoke if you felt like it back then. Imagine that shit.
Yeah.
And you know, you lived at home, and you know, you went to school and did whatever you had to do. But it was real easy to get snatched right back into the program. Trust me, it used to happen all the time. You know, someone decides they actually want to have a girlfriend who doesn't straight, you know, automatically she's a druggy whore. Like the girl he'd been dating before he got into straight, who was a good girl. So fucking nuts, man, what they used to do to us. So that's the phase system in a nutshell. It's far more complex than that. So I'm giving you
Okay.
like the digest version, you know.
Okay. You know, that was good. And how was your program overall? Like, did you find it was like easier for you to get points? Did you try to get points but got consequenced a lot? Or was it really, really difficult for you to get up in the phases and or did you get points, or was it just kind of them deciding when you went to the next phase?
There wasn't really points. It wasn't like you had to reach 400 points or something.
Okay.
People decided. Well, they had a group every week. It was called Homes Group. They used to call it. And that's what you could put in to be like, if I wanted to go to third phase and I was on second phase, I'd have to write in like a progress report on myself, what I think I'm doing, all the things I'm doing right, and then that would be voted on by a bunch of kids. And you could have been the best fucking example, and just because you gave someone doesn't like you because they
Yep.
remind you of school, you get kicked right in the nuts, you know, and they could throw you back up for a phase could happen. But that's how you progressed. You know, you would have to submit it, and you know, there's some magical process, which was a bunch of fucking bullshit. It was just kids being petty little motherfuckers. I mean, sorry I cursed, but that's how I talk.
No, it's totally fine.
Really, what was going on behind the scenes.
Okay.
So,
So was it easier for you to get up in the phases, or did you struggle with it, or?
oh, I struggled with it. Like I was on first phase for longer than normally. Usually, first phase, they tell you, here's the biggest joke when you get in there. You could go home in 14 days. You do all these things right, which is a complete and utter lie. No one I've ever heard of anyone going home in 14 days. There was a rumor that some doctor's son did it, which I think is a fucking lie to begin with. Oh my gosh. What was your question? I'm sorry, my mind's
Oh,
racing.
you kind of already answered it, but it was I was asking if it was like more difficult for you to get up in the phases.
Well, I was stuck on first phase longer than I should have been.
Okay.
Part because of as I was working my ass off in Florida to get the fuck off of first phase. All of a sudden, I got transferred, sectioned off. All the kids were going to Virginia. Were put in a different part of the building, warehouse. It was it's like sealed off, so no one advanced phases for months because they were in the middle of a move. Wasn't until I got up to Springfield that movement became apparent. The group wasn't shut down, so to speak. They weren't calling people in from days off or whatever. And I was able to progress. I got up to fourth phase. Um, I did all of third phase, got on the fourth phase, and they called all the days off in because the group was in a bad place. Fuck you. The group's always in a bad place. You know what I mean? You're just being fucking jerk offs. For whatever reason, trying to rattle people's cans and ruin their fucking hopes, and they did. They took away my permissions to go out with my mom. The only time I'd ever put in a permission. My mother lives fucking 250 miles away. You know.
Yeah.
Got really pissed. I went to school. And one day I was like, you know what? This ain't you. This is a dog and pony show.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not
Exactly.
it. You're. Because I began to really feel myself drift away. Like,
Dissociate.
yeah, I was dissociating, but yes, that is a technical term. But it's far more. I don't know how to describe it. It was this inertia. It was just sucking me in and pushing me out, so to speak. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
And away from school, I walked from Bethesda, Maryland to Washington, D.C. once they figured out that I had ran, they sent out fifth phasers, seventh phasers, and dads in like station wagons and vans, and they were fucking hunting me down in D.C. Um, like a dog. I mean, I ran for I had no idea what I just ran blindly, running down into like where people have basement apartments and hiding. I was afraid they were going to call the cops, come out and shoot me. You know what I mean? And I see like a town and country station wagon go by, and all these people that I knew from the program were like all eyes out with flashlights, looking at shit. I was chased out like an animal. I contacted my father, and he put me up in this really sleaze bag hotel, and told them where I was. They came. They tried to break the fucking door down. When I left school that day, I took a carpet knife with me because I was afraid. Because I was going into D.C. D.C. is not a friendly town. If you go in the wrong neighborhood, it's an awful town. If you go in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I barricaded the door, and they tried to get it open. And I was screaming at them. I unscrewed a table leg, and I had that box cutter. I said, "Someone's going somewhere, and it ain't gonna be me. And you ain't going back straight." I was gonna fuck. I was gonna cut somebody. I know I would have done it had they tried to rush me. And when they looked through the door and they saw I wasn't kidding, it all stopped. Then the phone calls began, constant, barraged, over and over and over again. I disconnected the phone, and then they had the guy from the front desk knocking on the door. "Sir, it's a fire violation. You have to plug your phone in." Da da da, which is fucking bullshit. And then I made it back to New Jersey. That's a long way to go. You know,
Yeah.
hiding. I was hiding. I was so petrified. It was not above them to find someone. I was almost 19 at this point. They wouldn't have given a shit. I'm a full ass grown adult. You know, I could go to
Yeah.
war now, so to speak, according to our government. And they could have just snatched me off the street like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and just brought me back there, and no one would have known. But stuck in there.
So, did you graduate or did you run away?
I ran. I
Okay.
escaped. I wouldn't call it
Wow.
running away. I escaped. It was like jail. It wasn't. It was the most bizarre jail. You know, you had the adults. I can't. You know, that's the thing that fucks me up. Is like all these parents who had these strange kids in their house. They're getting confronted and starved and beaten, all this stuff right in front of them. Never said a fucking word. Not one time. There was rape allegations, incest stuff that came out in group. And you know how you can tell when someone's lying in group? Yeah, blah, blah. This was fucking real. Real.
Yeah.
I remember, oh, this fucking kills me, dude. I remember Miller Newton stood this girl up and made her apologize that her father raped her. It was her fault because she was dressed suggestively. The thing that kills, I can see it in my mind's eye right now, and it makes me fucking nauseous, girl. All these other parents are like patting this scumbag on the back. "Oh, it's gonna be okay, Joe. It was all her fault that you took her virginity away and destroyed her fucking life." I couldn't get over it. I mean, wasn't they just fucked with the kids? They fucked with the parents, and they fucked with the entire family. It wasn't just there was cousins and stuff in there. There were brothers and sisters in there, neighbors who were like fun family. You know, all of a sudden their juniors in there, and now their daughter Trixie's in there now, and it was like a cancer, and it was so fucking scary. I can't. You know, when people, it's sometimes people say I got really scared. I was scared shitless. I think to myself, you don't really know what being frightened is. Like there's frightened, and then there's this. It just
Yeah.
seems like
It's a whole
several.
nother level. It's a whole nother level.
Yes, and taste it almost. I could taste it. Being completely on guard all like for the rest of my life. Not so much the last 10 years. I've made a lot of progress. That hypervigilance, that shit was hard to make go away. I was so frightened. It was like that switch of fear got turned on, and they sawed off the button, and it was just on forever. I have really hard time processing my feelings. It's so fucked up. You know, here I am, 19 years old, And the way straight works is, you can't talk to girls or look at them. I escaped from the place, and I literally have girls making passes at me, and I'm
Yep.
running,
Same. Yep.
and I can't stop myself. I can't look them in the eye.
Yep. I can't. I have the same fucking issue. I have the same fucking problem. I can't even really talk to women. I
Dude,
can't
isn't
even.
that fucked?
You know?
Isn't that fucked?
Yeah, it really is. It really
Oh,
is. It's too bad.
I mean, it got better, fucking decades later, and a lot of practice and a lot of changing that I did. I can honestly say where I am today in my life is I am that kid that was alive well before I went into straight. I feel like I went full circle. It only took 40 years, but I feel like I'm that kid. Do I still suffer from some things from that place? You betcha I do, man. There are dreams that come and they're random. They're realistic, and that's night terrors is one thing that doesn't happen as frequently as it did in the beginning. Um, a lot of times, I find myself that whole paranoid looking around thing, double checking doors, stuff like that. That happens frequently, um, but it's not as bad of severity as it was 40 years ago. And I don't think it's because I got used to being that way. I think it was truly because I began to figure out there's other ways of living my life without having to be in this constant state of arousal, constant state of fight or flight, or living on the edge all of the time. It's gotten a lot better. I've done a lot of work. The fucked up part is when I got out of there, like, here we go, 1983 or whatever, almost 84. I got out of there and I went to go get help. And I go to a therapist and they would flat out tell me I'm lying. You're
Yep.
lying. You are lying. How can I make up a lie that intricate?
Yeah.
I mean, am I Stephen King? I'm not a writer. I can't make this shit up.
Yeah.
And it was so discouraging back then because, man, there wasn't. It was so unbelievable. It was unbelievable to people. And it was really difficult on me because I'm trying to get help and people don't understand. And considering I was in New Jersey and the programs I were in Virginia, 250 miles away from home, and the other one was 1,300 miles away from home. No one ever heard of this place before. Yeah, they saw it in 60 Minutes years later after I got out of there. And it was this glowing, awesome, great place to send your kid and fuck your whole family up, It was insane. I mean, it used to drive me nuts. Like, hooray, Princess Diana's here. And I'm like, man, they're putting on a dog and pony show. They're fooling you. This is all about control. When I really think about it with straight in general, like 1982 the crack epidemic just happened. I mean, it was bad, dude. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. And what better, straight comes along and says they can prophylactically treat your children so they don't turn into drug addicts and become crackheads, right? There was some governmental support, or they turned a blind eye to it, and anyone can investigate it. I'm not going to go into it; it's a long haul. And what better way could there be to control anyone?
Mind control. Yep.
Mind control.
Brainwashing. Brainwashing.
Oh yes, coercion. Coercive fucking. It was all coercion. It was all fucking lies and fear. What a great way to learn how to control families by just scaring the living hell out of them and taking advantage of their ignorance. Because back then, you smoked pot, you might as well have been shooting heroin. Like, we all know, like, pot is this innocuous thing. Not a
Yeah.
problem with. I get it. I'm not trying to put anyone down who's got a problem with weed. I get it. But for the most part, I don't hear of anyone dying from. It just don't happen.
No.
It was so different back then. It was a different mindset. It was still, the whole world was controlled by baby boomers. They were like the ones in control. And then there was our group, the Gen Xers, they didn't even know how to understand us, really. Kind of feral. It was a crazy time, and I really went nuts for a while. I was like, I wanted my life to begin to work in the field. I'm not going to go into my degrees or any of that shit. I went on to work into the field, and I began to, part of my job is diagnosing people and arguing with insurance companies and stuff. And I remember going through the diagnostic and statistical manual and being able to pick out all these different things that were me. And here I am treating people, and I'm just as raw in some areas as these folks are. And I had so much healing to do, and it took time and a lot of patience and repetition. It's repetition, doing the next right thing. And I can say, in all honesty, I did a lot of work with psychedelics. I don't recommend that for everyone. My phone's dying. I'm sorry. I don't recommend that for everyone, but it worked for me. And I discovered some things about myself, and I began to change in my thinking. I was a very negative person. I was always looked to the worst possible scenario of any decision. I was completely pessimistic. Now I'm very much I'm the direct opposite of that. I'm not pessimistic. I'm very optimistic. And it took practice and a lot of I had to forgive myself because I really, I do hold myself accountable for the things that I did in there. But I tortured myself for the next 30 years because of it. That was my own way of self-flagellation. I destroyed my life over. So yeah, it had a pretty dramatic impact on me,
Okay. What was the hardest part about being there for you?
That's a good question. I mean, there's the obvious answers, oh, it sucked, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest part, and I know the hardest part of being in there is what happened after I left.
Okay.
I was completely nuts. You know what I mean? I worked in the tapas bar as a bouncer. I worked for this guy from down south, and these good old boys said, I'm going to pay you to get drunk and be an asshole. And that's exactly what I did. I was very physical back then. It was incredibly difficult for me to have relationships with people. I was highly suspect of everybody. There was no ever being relaxed. All of my friends or girlfriends or whatever had to go through a stringent test of how much shit are they willing to put up for me. You know what I mean? To prove they really do like me and they're sincere. I've destroyed more people than I care to admit. And it was, again, it was out of self-preservation. I still had that armor on. The real me, the person that's talking to now, was like this little ember, this little tiny box in the center of my mind, and everything else was filled up with that disinformation, that brainwashing, the coercive thought control.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hard. But what happened? It was awful in there. Don't get me wrong. It was fucked up. Awful, destructive, frightening, violent, loud, abusive, mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually. The things man, I have a friend of mine, his name, I'm not going to say his name. They crucified this kid. I mean, everyone knew he was gay. Who gave a shit? I didn't. Most people didn't care. We're a bunch of kids. And they ripped out his persona and jammed another person inside his body. About 3 years after Straight, he took his father's service revolver, drank a quart of Jack Daniels, and blew his fucking brains out. This is the fucked up part of being in Straight. How many, you need to add, maybe people need to ask themselves, maybe people that have been caught in a place like you and I went to, maybe do ask themselves, how many people do you know that committed suicide? I know 22. And they're all from there.
We don't have an exact number, but it's it's in the hundreds.
I believe it. But these are 20 that I knew. Like I was in. Yeah. Plus, there's a bunch of people outside of there, nothing to do with Straight. But that's besides the point. If you ask the most normal people, how many people you know that killed themselves? There'll be like 2 or 3. Maybe, or none. And good for them. That's normal, and I'm happy to hear that. That it's not like me and our friends and people like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
I love people, man. I love people very much, and I go out of my way to talk to people and try and remain as available as I can to anyone who reaches out. I've changed a lot. and I'm a really happy man these days. You know, I've got grandchildren. My daughter's 30. My daughter's 32. It's fucking crazy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've got grandchildren, my family. I spend time with my uncle. Like all this stuff were pipe dreams when I got out of that place. And the reason why I have all this stuff now is because I stopped doing anything that place told me to do. I stopped believing in their lives, and I started believing in myself, my own common sense. And for anyone who's new, just dealing with this takes time. At least for me, it did. It was not an overnight transition. This took time, and it took lots of 2 steps forward and falling right down the entire flight of stairs again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And crawling up out of the basement, beaten and broken, judging the shit out of myself, isolating the anger, the rejection. I mean, it took time and practice, and I just kept up with it, man. And I feel a lot better. You know, I'm pretty well adjusted. You know, and I'm not like not afraid to talk about the place at all. I'll talk to anyone about it. Most people don't understand it,
Yeah.
and they don't have to. Thank God. It's really thank God they don't have to understand. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I got to get a drink. My little Seagram's ginger ale. Anyway, really, really happy I'm not in that place anymore, and I'm really happy that people like you and a few others are shedding light on it. They're giving people a platform to tell their truth. And I got much respect for what you're doing, and I thank you for taking the time out to reach out to people like me and some other folks I know.
No problem. I really appreciate you coming on for sure. If you could go back in a time machine, knowing what you know now and not go through straight, would you do it, and why?
I think everyone's got that fantasy. If I could just go back to that day and be this old and tell my young self they're all lying and run away, you know, I would. Of course I would. You know what I mean? But I'm living in reality, man. Would I change anything that happened? No. Would I like? Oh my god. Of course I have that fantasy, man. And I think everyone who's ever been in a place like we were at has that fantasy. But I'm living in the real world. I don't think I could change anything that has happened. But I'm not looking to change anything that's happened. The only thing I'm looking to change is myself. And I don't live in the past and I don't live in the future. No amount of regret will ever change the past. No amount of anxiety will ever change an outcome. So I have to live in the moment. I live right now. And I wouldn't trade in who I am as a person for fucking anything. Because I like the man I've got some healthy self-esteem. And, I love this person. I worked really hard on him. And he's done really well in spite of all the odds are stacked against him. I did fucking good. And I believe that, man. And I'm a very grateful person. I am I grateful I went to Straight Incorporated? No.
Yeah.
I wish it never happened. But in spite of that, I'm the person I always wanted to be. It just took time, man. And trust and a lot of communication. And, if you're new at this thing, right? Getting on these boards and stuff and talking to people is fucking essential. At least it was for me. Because once I started talking to people who went through the same thing I didn't have to explain in detail.
Mm-mm.
I swear to God, and you probably know this too, there's like an unwritten language that all of us know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A wilderness camp, a religious camp, an ungay me camp, or a behavior mafia, we all know the same language.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a relief to be able to say I was confronted. You know exactly what I mean by that. You know it's harmful and it's destructive.
Yep, attack therapy. It was called attack therapy with us,
Oh yeah. I mean,
they just changed the name and they say, oh no, that's not the same thing, but it is,
Nothing's changed. They just put a new fucking bullshit candy wrapper on it,
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime that children mind other children, look, man, kids are inherently evil little bastards, man. They can be really callous. They don't know any better. They're only children.
Yeah, and teenagers' brains are still developing, and that's like they're going through puberty and all sorts of shit,
Oh, yeah.
They're supposed to be experimenting. They're supposed to be like questioning the authority and stuff like that and going against,
Yeah, man, I agree with you. That is still our job as human beings, finding our place. For all the new people out there, there's no way that I could put this together and sell it as like, here, if you do this, you'll come out of this whole troubled teen coercion, fucking brainwashing. No. If I could, I'd give it away for free and we'd all be happy, right?
Yeah.
But the people who are new, there is a way out. There really is a way out of this mess. And it's different paths, but the same mountain. We're all going for the same pinnacle. And the paths can be meandering. They could go back, up, back, forward, laterally, crookedly, but we're all moving. I encourage you to stick with this. Reach out to people you know. Take a risk. Stand in your truth. Speak your truth to power. And know that there's people out there who really understand and who love the person you are in spite of all these horrific things we endured. And I'm not talking about, oh, I love you, brother. I'm talking about a deep understanding of love and compassion. Like, I get where you're at. And, look, for people who are new, you're going to run into people who are incredibly damaged by these places. And yes, they may be mentally ill. Overtly so. Don't let that run you off or scare you. You need to stick together, even with the people who are really suffering as a result of their stay, or they had a pre-existing psychiatric disorder, on top of being horrifically abused. We need to stick with each other and be as compassionate as we can. There is a way out, man. You can do it. If I can, here we go, that old adage. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe not everyone can, but there is a way. I'm not the only one. There's lots of other people out there who come to terms with what's gone on in their lives.
Yep. Where are you with your parents? Have you forgiven them? Have you talked to them about how this place affected you?
Absolutely. My mother has passed away.
Rest in peace.
Something like that. And we came to terms with it. They, for a couple of decades, I would hear that I used to hate it. If we didn't put you in there, you would have been dead.
Yeah.
Which is fucking bullshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's propaganda and it's just easy thing to say. And it's their way of blowing me off and not taking accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
And it took like better than 20 years for it to be honestly discussed amongst us. My phone is about to go dead. I got 1%. Damn. I'm sorry, man. I thought my phone would last.
No, it's all good. You don't have a charger?
I do, but here, let me see. I gotta illuminate this from my messy ass desk and shit. Please disregard the background noise. My wife's watching.
No, perfectly fine.
Hospital show. What was the question again?
I was asking about your parents.
Oh, well, my mother died several years ago, and it took a couple of decades of hearing that typical answer. You would have died, blah blah blah, and then we just began talking about it, and I began to tell them really what happened, and I tried to tell them many times before, and they too are like, "Oh, you're full of shit. You're just trying to make us feel bad." I mean, that's really not I was not trying to make them feel guilty. I just wanted to tell them what happened. I never fully trusted them ever again. There's a palpable difference between the trust I had for my parents prior to that place and the lack of trust that I had thereafter.
Yeah.
When I escaped from that place, I disappeared. I went on the road with the Grateful Dead for a couple of years, bartered around, bounced, and did all kinds of weird shit. My parents thought I was dead, like zero contact, nothing. I was so afraid of them, They could do this at any moment again.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult for me to trust them. Like my father now, he's got dementia now, but he's fairly cognizant, he's opaque and other times he's not. I've talked to him about it prior to that, and he asked me to forgive him, and I did. My mother did the same. But our relationship was never the same after that place. So there was, no matter what, there was always my gut. There was that. How can I even explain it, man? There was just a difference. Was there trust after that place? Yeah. But did I put as much trust in them that I had before? Absolutely fucking not. Did I keep myself an arm's length distance away from them? You bet your ass I did. You know, there was certain things that my behavior toward them changed like 180 degrees. Uh, it was stressful, um, and I refused to let them push me around. You know, I was like 17. They put me in straight, and I never went back home. It's like I'm done. I would have let, you know. There was years where, you know, I wasn't allowed. This is upsetting. Um, you know, the holidays and stuff would come along, and I was not allowed to go to family dinners. My birthday, like people would get married, and my cousins would have babies and stuff, and I wouldn't find out until like years later. So I was just ostracized because my name got mentioned, you know, that kind of stuff. Or he's a drug addict. Look, he had to go to a real rehab. I didn't go to a rehab. I went to a jail for scared parents. That's what the fuck I did.
Yeah. Yep.
So it really destroyed a lot of things. You know, my relationship with my uncle, he's the oldest surviving member on my mother's side of the family. We are really close. And well, as close as we've ever been. And I'm so grateful for that. It just happened one day. It just wasn't like I was trying to get him to like me. You know, I was already at the point like, you don't like me, fine, fuck off, whatever. There's nothing I could do to change your mind. But then we started to become friends, and you know, he just called me today, and I was just tickled. I'm like, man, my uncle just called me. You got to remember, you know, I'm like 60 years old now, right? So it's like, could you imagine like 40 years goes by and one day your uncle calls you? Would you be like, holy shit?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
man.
crazy.
I'm really happy about that. Um, you know, there's so much more about straight, and it's hard for me to conceptualize it and put it in like a beginning, middle, and an end because it
Yeah.
definitely ended. I'm living it out, whatever. Maybe I'm in the middle yet. I don't know. There's a lot of terrible things happening there. You know, I don't, I don't think I need to go into graphic detail. Not unless you want me to about some of the. We all know what it's like to be tortured.
Yeah.
In some of the most inhumane manner you could possibly think of. And I don't think I need to resurrect those nightmares for anybody. The important part, you and I are communicating. We're making a record of this, and it'll give people a reference point.
Yeah, definitely.
Give them something. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is is there anything, or wait a minute, what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
One thing being knowing that I'm staying in one place would have helped. Remember, I was like rolled across like a rotten peach. God,
Stability.
you know,
Stability.
stability absolutely would have helped. I think another thing that would have helped is if I had been fully treated for my parents' divorce. That had an enormous impact on me. Like when I was a little kid, I went to a Catholic school, right? This is 1970 something. They got divorced. Oh my God, I'm fucking ancient. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but my mother had excommunicated from the church, and then I became that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Your kid. And you got to remember, you know, if you're not a Catholic person and you didn't go to Catholic school, very judgmental place, very, very cliquey, very, very religious, obviously, and I was treated terribly. Um, if I had been fully treated for my parents' divorce, it would have helped. If my mother had shown the slightest modicum of interest in anything that I was doing, including my father, you know what I mean? They're both in the same boat. You know, I'm that typical Gen X guy, and they talk about it on TikTok all the time. It drives me nuts, but because it fits, you know. My parents worked; they didn't give a shit what I did. You know what I mean? It was just like as long as I didn't get in trouble, they didn't care. And there was a whole crew of us, and most of us are still friends, the ones that are still alive, and we say we raised each other. Our parents had little to do with it. So having stability, being fully treated for the trauma that I experienced as a kid definitely would have helped. And I think I'm not looking for my parents to pay 100% attention to me, to baby me, but just take an interest, even the slightest interest. Hey, Rich, you really did a good at this, or hey, Rich, why don't you try out for the football team? Hey, Rich, anything. And they were basically, they wanted to work and be left the fuck alone. My father worked, came home, got drunk, didn't want to go with me. My mother worked, came home, ate dinner, watched MASH, went to bed. Did not, it was very cyclical, very the same all the time. Those things would have helped, without a doubt. I don't know, maybe, would it have made everything go away? Who the fuck knows? I don't know, but that certainly would have helped.
Okay. Okay. And is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
If you're looking for a place for your child to be sent away to, don't look at the first 5 pages of anything that comes up on a Google search. Get to the pages behind it. Look for reviews. Do research. Just don't think this is a wonderful place with horse therapy. Yeah, they don't realize horse therapy is shoveling piles of shit all day, or baling hay, or fixing fences in drought conditions in the middle of Montana, fucking somewhere. Do your research. Make sure it's state accredited. Make sure wherever you send your child, their state has an overreach on top of it. Make sure that you have the people who are treating your children are actually professionals who have real degrees, real to God, I'm getting flustered.
Bachelor's degrees?
Yes, thank you. Bachelor degrees, master's degrees. Make sure they went to a reputable college, not the one you write into. You don't want a therapist from Phoenix Institute, okay? Trust me. You want someone from like Cal State or something, or someplace like that. I think another thing is, if your kid's going through these troubles, try outpatient therapy first. You know what I mean? Try and get them connected with a decent counselor. Make sure that the counselor is minimum has an MSW, a Master's in Social Work. Even better if they're a licensed practicing social worker.
Okay.
These things are all really, really effective tools. Sending your kid away is, people got to get it out of their head. It's not like getting an appendix taken out. This is different.
Yeah.
About your mind, your behavior. So that's what I would suggest to anyone looking to get help for a kid who's going through a rough time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my 2 cents, man.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I want to extend an invitation to you if you want to do a part 2 ever, because usually when people do these first interviews, a lot of stuff comes up and they remember stuff. So if that happens, go ahead and take some notes, and we'll do a part 2. I have no problem doing that. Just reach out to me and we'll make it happen.
That's wonderful. Thank you. It'll, in a parting statement, or whatever. I know when we shut this thing off, right, we won't be talking anymore. You and I are both going to be thinking about that place we were in. You know what I mean? It's hard to shut off. It's going to take me a few days, 2 or 3 days, and then I'll, go back to normal scheduled programming, if that makes any kind of sense. I said some of these things, and they're horrific. The things I did were terrible. And I do not want to give anyone the impression that I'm over here glibly talking about this stuff. I'm fucking dying inside. You know what I mean? I don't feel like crying hysterically. I could if I maybe, if I allowed myself to, I would. This was a terrible place. And the things they did to children were unforgivable. Unforgivable.
Yeah.
When I escaped from there, I made myself a promise: one day I'm going to get all you fuckers. And by doing stuff like this and being interviewed and being open to it, certainly gives me that opportunity. And I would love to probably come back and do a part 2 at some point. It probably won't be for a while. I'll put this away for a while and digest it.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're doing, I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
And also if you ever need to talk to anybody, I'm always here. And do you live in Florida?
No, I live in New Jersey.
You live in New Jersey? Well, shit, if I'm ever in New Jersey, we should smoke a joint together or something.
Anytime, man. End to end,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'll keep in touch.
Great. You take care. I'll talk to you soon. So
All right. Bye.